So last week I spent a whole bunch of time reorganizing my writing space, and I am sitting in my bed with all of my plushies and writing here instead. Oh, I think my coffee's ready. Alright, y'all, so it is officially, as of right now when I'm recording this, it is October 14th. We are officially 2 weeks into Preptober of 2023. I am super excited. If you have not seen, I have one Preptober vlog up already that I made a week ago. I think I'm at least going to try to update these once a week minimum, but obviously, like, vlogging isn't my primary focus right now during this process, but I at least want to, for my own sake, as well as whoever may care and be following this, I do want to keep updating this process just so I can, continue improving it in future years. So, that said, if you have not seen week one, I'm not going to recap every previous week of a vlog, so if you want to, if you're confused about anything I say in this, maybe go check out that video and it will make a little more sense. Anywho, so this week, a couple of the things on my priorities and my to-do list were, which I'm actually really proud of myself. I'm doing pretty good so far. I have one more evening, basically after I'm done recording this here, I have one more evening of this week officially to be where I want to be, and I think I'll be able to achieve that. But anyway, a couple of the really big important things I wanted to focus on this week is something that I did not do last year for Nanowrimo was create any type of playlists for while I'm writing. And I've seen other people talk about it, and for some reason last year I was like, nah, I have more important things to focus on. That's not a big deal. But it really did take me more out of my own story every time that one of my playlists would end, or well, not my personal playlist, but every time a song or a hour-long series of music or whatever that I had chosen would end abruptly, then it would really pull me out of my own story to be able to go and find something different and have to go through all these other things, and then my ADD would kick in and I'd be like, oh, but what's this? And then it would take me that much longer to get back into my writing state, right? My flow. So I actually went ahead this year and created, so far I have 5 different playlists. I have 3 playlists for the 3 main protagonists that are in book 1 of my series, which is obviously the book that I'm working on right now, called Unseelie. And I have a playlist for each of them that is a combination of music and ambiance that kind of matches not only their personalities, but also kind of goes with their culture, because each main character in my story has a very different cultural vibe to them as far as fantasy cultures that I'm making up for this world. But yeah, that's a lot to get into, and I'm not trying to divert too much in this, but I know a lot of people I've seen that have playlists of their own that they've created for their own books. It's songs that have lyrics, and to each their own, whatever works for you. But for whatever reason, I shouldn't even say for whatever reason. I know exactly why that doesn't work for me. I cannot be in my own writing flow, in my own world, when I'm hearing somebody else tell me what their song is about through their lyrics. If it's just instrumental, then I just feel like personally there's more room there for me to feel creative myself, because I'm not having someone tell me what their song is. I'm getting to feel it for myself. And so for that reason, instrumental is way preferred, especially in particularly when I'm writing. So yeah, I have 3 playlists, one for each of my main 3 protagonists in this first novel, and I have a couple other ones. One I'm just calling Intrigue and Suspense, and it's music that kind of will fit some of the, there'll be a lot of scenes throughout my series that are kind of, well, they would fall under the category of suspense, or there's some kind of conspiracy, or something is going on right behind the scenes, or people being shady, right? And so I have like a whole playlist for those kind of moments. And then I have another playlist that I am still throwing a little bit here. Well, I'm kind of still adding to them as I go, but I have another playlist that I'm calling Boss Fights because it is all of the most epic, inspiring music that like just really gets me pumped and like helps me just like visualize my world so clearly, and like the journeys my characters go on and all that kind of stuff. That one is predominantly comprised of like, I'm a huge fan of Audio Machine, Two Steps from Hell. I've recently discovered Rock Nardin. I'll write all these for you guys also. And I have also recently come across one that I'm really liking so far. Everything I've heard by them has been amazing. But they are called, I think, Sons of Pythagoras. But yeah, if you haven't heard of any of those groups and you need like epic music that could get you pumped for any kind of boss fight, or just like epic moments in your stories, whether you need like inspirational or like fierce or like whatever, like all these groups have like just the max when it comes to epic. Last week I also started the process of using the every point in the 3x story structure for each of my protagonists in this first novel, and going through each of their stories from like beginning to end of the first novel, and basically making sure that I hit all of those story beats, right? At the time of my vlog last week going up, I had done that successfully for my like main protagonist. And I still had two others that I needed to do that for. One of those characters I do need to continue working on. I'm thinking I'm gonna be where I would like to be with her by tonight. I almost forgot to mention the main issue that I've been having with Taishi's outline specifically is because I was going off of an outline, a 3x story structure specifically for like a standalone novel. And so there were aspects to the end of that structure that were not really working for me, and I didn't quite understand why for a couple of days until I just kept like thinking about it and was like, okay, like it basically, because, you know, if you're spreading out a character's story over multiple books, it's important to, you know, you have to look at it a little bit differently than a standalone novel. By the end of a standalone novel, that character should have had full growth and like experienced their full adventure and come out the other side a different character, right? But in a series that can take a lot longer. And so I did find a little bit more, I did a little research personally, and I did find a better kind of outline structure for doing a 3x story structure outline for an entire series. And as I went through it, I was like, okay, this makes way more sense. It was much more intuitive. Kind of a lot of it really is just like changing the ending, and instead of having like a certain plot points of like the character having that like their dark moment, and then like having that like huge breakthrough moment where they like realize all the pieces fall into place and they realize whatever truth they need to realize to be able to move on to, you know, to win the battle. It's like, well, they can't win the battle anyway right now, right? And so like, and you want to leave the end of a book in a series, and you want to leave it on kind of some level of a cliffhanger so that there's a reason to pick up the next book, right? And so for my like main protagonist, Turian, the original standalone novel structure worked really well for the story that is being told through her perspective in this first book, because part of her character journey is, I don't even know how to say this without spoiling something in my own book, which I don't really feel like doing. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how much is okay to say, because I am going to publish this one day, so I'm still figuring out some of that. For reasons I cannot disclose, my main protagonist character, her character story is going to change significantly by the end of the first book in a certain type of way that means that her story will not follow the usual character arc throughout the entire series. It has like a very different flow to it, and that might sound a little crazy or a little out there, but trust me, I have thought about this a lot. I am pretty sure I know what I'm doing, and I think it's going to be cool. I highly recommend keeping that in mind. If you are writing a series and not just a standalone novel, definitely look at the 3-act story structure a little bit differently. I think it'll come across intuitively. If you're a writer, you're probably someone who enjoys reading or audiobooks or, stories in whatever form, right? So if you've geeked out over enough stories, it should come intuitively to you, like, why these things should be a little bit different. And the other one, I already pretty much had her entire story for really the first couple books in the series. I had her entire story like kind of written out in like, I don't know, like shorthand in, I think like 5,000 words or something like that, of like, this is what happens and this is what happens, and it like very boring, but like all the this is her story stuff. So yeah, Turian and Valyrie are like, they are good. I am excited about, at least as far as hitting their story beats. Taishi, tonight I'm going to work on her a little bit more. She definitely, I'm just not happy with how her story is yet. I think that we can do better. Then my next steps over the next week of preparation are going to be predominantly focused on, I knew that was coming. My next steps next week are going to be going in and further fleshing out beyond making sure I hit all those story beats, making sure that I'm putting in all those little extra things to like flesh out the skeleton, right, for each of the characters. Because as I've been doing this, it's become way easier for me to see exactly when certain moments need to happen, or kind of the order that these chapters need to fall in, which I don't necessarily have to write them in that order, but for my own personal brain, it makes it a lot easier for me if I have like a clearer idea of like chapter placement, I guess, and like the order of the story flow. So anyway, I'm really excited because I'm actually seeing that kind of coming together. So that's pretty dope. Another thing I wanted to throw in real quick to this vlog is that I know it's super boring stuff to talk about, but part of my process in this Preptober and getting ready for next month is kind of tie up any loose ends in my mundane, like non-writer related life, right? So this is a really busy month for me. Aside from doing all this actual like writing work and fleshing out actual story, I am also trying to make sure that like I don't have to have any doctor or vet appointments next month. I don't have to, tie up any like late payments, or make sure that all of my stuff is like caught up as much as it can be, or even like if I can prepay certain bills, trying to go ahead and do that. I'm trying to basically remove as many stressors from my life as possible before next month. Now, depending on an individual's personal lifestyle and whatever, everyone's going to have different limits on what they can do with all this. So I'm just trying to do the best I can. That's all I would recommend to anyone. If you're watching this and you take away anything from it, like, I know it's not writer related specifically, but at least for me, I have an easier time maintaining focus and feeling like I can like safely and comfortably get lost in my fantasy world when I know that my physical reality is like set, that stuff is as good as it can be. There's always going to be random things that come up or that you just can't handle until the time, right? But if at all possible, if there are things like that that you can try to handle now before it's time to just be hardcore focused on writing, I highly recommend doing it. I bought myself this new journal planner and I am in love with it. It sets it up to where you can like fill in stuff yourself. So you can literally just like circle what date it is, and then like you have your to-do list. If you need graph paper for whatever, I don't know. But then like follow-ups and notes and all this stuff. But it's been really helpful, and there's something extremely satisfying about being able to cross something off of a to-do list. Like I can like actually see like, okay, I actually did this thing. It's done. It's over with. Whatever, right? Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you want to continue following my journey, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Hit the bell so you don't miss my updates. And let me know, what is your process looking like? Oh, I would really love to hear how your Preptober is going. Let's chat. See you soon, guys.